This is our second week of doing this little group practice slash coaching session. Hopefully you guys are excited. If you guys have any sort of questions or teams or replays or any sort of things you guys want worked on for the Pokemon VGC Regulation F formats, this is where we're going to work on this today. Okay, cool. So you're trying to play like a Meteor Beam Iron Moth. Now the question I have for you here is this going to be built for open sheet, closed sheet? Are there any sort of like events or stuff you're going to be taking this to?
Yeah, because I'm just started, it's like best of one showdown is kind of how I've started. I'm not opposed to going into best of three showdown, but I don't have any plans to go to any like open team sheet events in the near future.
Okay, I would say,
and then I'll kind of say the reason I wanted the Power Herb Meteor Beam is because if I'm abandoning the Quark Drive ability, I was like, what's the best? So if you wanted to give it a speed boost, you could kind of replace that with Tailwind. And if you wanted to give it the special attack boost, that's what Meteor Beam was. Meteor Beam with plus power was kind of.
Yeah, I think this is good tech. It's not as easy to use in like this format as others. You know, if you were to really think of like Iron Moth as a Pokemon, it's so crazy. This stat line would be like the best Pokemon in like any other format ever, except for like this one, right? Except for like any of these Scarlet and Violet formats. Like this is a crazy, crazy speed stat, crazy special attack stat, great speed def. It's very, very aggressive. One thing that I kind of like about this thing, or one Pokemon that usually gets compared to Iron Moth, is usually like Chi-Yu, right? Because they both have that like pseudo defensive secondary typing, being poison and dark. They usually have a decent amount of AoE. You have access to like that stab acid spray, and then these guys usually can be built with like, they both complement Flutter Mane, right? Because they punish those Pokemon that are normally like good at walling the Flutter Mane. So I think this is like a usable Pokemon here, but at the same time, like it's hard to, this is definitely a win more set, right? So like imagine like the perfect game that you're trying to set up here. You go for a Tailwind and then you're able to like get value off of your Ursh and then come in with Iron Moth and like close out. And the problem with that is you get really folded by like, Flutter Mane, honestly. Flutter Mane just kind of says like Icy Wind, Icy Wind, Icy Wind, Moonblast, you know. Yes, you can double tap it with like a Tachyon Cutter, but like, you know, Flutter Mane's best friend is like Ogerpon, right? So it's like, it's one of those situations where like, even if we were to really optimize an Iron Moth with the rest of these teammates, it would be one of those situations where I think you would only be winning games if your opponents are bad. And if that's like what you want to do to use this sort of team, that's fine. I think you might benefit more from like a team that actually surrounds the Iron Moth with like a little bit more value and plays to Iron Moth's strengths instead of trying to slot in Iron Moth on a rain team. I think that Iron Moth is much better built. Like, I think you had a really good idea with like Iron Moth Crown, right? I think that there's a lot of value there, even though they both have the ground weakness, which is hard to deal with. I think that there's a lot of value there, but I think both these guys with the addition of this core just clash a little bit too much.
Yeah. What I did to build this team is I took one of the day 2 teams from Toronto regionals that used Chi-Yu, and I kind of combined it specifically is Chi-Yu Glamora, and I combined those two into Iron Moth, and then I filled the extra slot with Landorus is what I did.
That's a good idea. The issue with why that's rough is because like the Glamora and the what is it, the Chi-Yu did like completely different things. Like the Glamora is a Pokemon that requires, so the reason why Glamora is so good is because like it has Spiky Shield and it elongates its presence on the board, and if you hit it you still get those hazard spikes up against you, which means it elongates the effectiveness of like a patient protect slash like redirection play, right? So we don't like have those options with this sort of team. But that being said, I think Iron Moth is like a valuable pick, and I don't think you need to be leaning into like Quark Drive per se. I don't think Meteor Beam's the play. I think that like if you were just to go take a look roughly at like a different Iron Moth team, you might be able to get something to work with. Like, you know, let's see some other moves this guy gets. Like there's a bunch of cool things it gets. It gets Dazzling Gleam, it gets a Discharge, it gets Fiery Dance, it gets access to some screens and things like that. So like I feel like there's a lot of value. It gets access to Sludge Wave. Like I would definitely be leaning more into that Sludge Wave next to Crown. Yeah. You know, that's probably where I would go.
I was thinking about that with Archaludon, but yeah, the Crown makes sense too.
Metal Sound is also an option that it gets. So like you can pair this thing, right, with so like if you were to booster energy this thing and have access to like, you know, I think Acid Spray is still better than Metal Sound. I don't know why I said that, but like Acid Spray is good. you know, booster energy, get the speed boost into this guy, and make it just like the perfect teammate for something to come out and just rip. I think that would be really, really good. Let's see what else it gets. I'm trying to see if
it gets Hurricane if it's going to be on a rain team, was something I had thought of at
that's
one
a little
point.
deep, I think. I don't think that a rain
Yeah.
team is the right place to make this guy work. That's just my thoughts. I'm trying to think. It also gets access to like Struggle Bug and stuff like that, so you can make this guy like in like a weird pseudo, like another cool thing if you wanted to play keep it like close sheet, like he gets like Screech, so like booster Screech next to like a Dragonite or something, and you just like run down like a scale shot into their face. Stuff like that's like definitely viable. Trying to think of anything.
I don't know why it doesn't get Quiver Dance. I feel like
that'd be busted. It'd be broken. This would be the best Pokemon in the game, I think. Like, you know, like not really, but like there's certain like formats, like so Reg like C would have been like really, really rough. So, but I think Acid Spray is going to be good on this thing. We want to think about what would we be Acid Spraying, like what situations do we want to actually utilize this thing and get value out of it. And I think that like having that big ground weakness and that big water weakness make this guy really, really hard to use. You got to find the right Terra. It's probably going to end up being like a grass, in my opinion.
Yeah, I did grass with Energy Ball.
So I think that this is probably where we're looking, but then we have to think about what are the things that we want to enable with this. Because like it doesn't really get a lot of like inherent speed control. There's not even any sort of like, how would I word this? There's not even any sort of, you know, what is it? I'm sorry, I'm blanking on this, but like a rock tomb. There's no rock tomb, right? Anything we can do to really get any sort of like speed control or anything really. So I think that while this thing like kind of works, it does get pounced. All right, I thought it did. It needs like something like that could be like really, really like sleeper OP. Even though it's a physical move, it's not that great, but like you're able to leverage that advantage and then like enable the right things. So you can build this thing into like a kind of a weird Flutter Mane if you look at it correctly. And that's just my thoughts. I think Iron Moth is just one of those Pokemon that if you were to take a look at some of like the teams from the recent tournaments that like have recently been happening, Iron Moth doesn't really do anything until like a lot of this meta, in my opinion.
Yeah, so
it's hard.
Kind of the reason that I kind of sparked in my head to try Iron Moth was all the Terra Fairy bolts. So I really liked the Landorus to kind of pin the bolt, and then if it goes Terra Fairy, you have the poison. But the only poison move I did end up putting on it was Acid Spray, which is good for the special defense, but it doesn't do a lot of damage. So
then let's try and find. Oh, go for it.
So I was trying to make Iron Moth work as well. And what I ended up doing is I would try to force Terra Fairy on things, and then I would use Sledge Wave on Iron Moth next to a Steel type. And so I think if you like open something, force the Fairy, and like a bunch of Amoonguss are switching to the Fairy as well.
Yep.
And that turns it into a really nice snipe where you just go in and then you're like expanding force, Sledge Waving everything.
So like one thing that we could do, this is just an idea here, right? An Excadrill would be something that would force a bolt into a Fairy Terra in some situations, right? Some situations, not always, right? But like you were talking about, that big, like that big ground type, something that maybe has like a Garchomp could also force like a Raging Bolt into a Fairy Terra. I think other dragons could do it too. So like that means even something like a Roaring Moon could force a bolt into a defensive Terra, like a Fairy Terra, right? I think that's definitely an option. Let's think about other mons. Another mon that would really always force the Terra there would be a Regidrago. This is a better example. Regidrago is probably a really good Pokemon to pair this with, because Regidrago would force those defensive Fairy Terras, right? And then Regidrago's most common Terra is actually Steel. So like now you have synergy here.
Yeah. With
like the Sludge Wave. So like I think something like this could have value. I don't know if you want to pounce on this one, but like, you know, like stuff like this could have a lot of value if you had the right teammate to surround it with. Does Regidrago seem like something you'd want to be building around? Because like I really think this isn't bad, but like it's just one of those situations where you're trying to do so much that even in a situation where you could find value with Iron Moth, there's nothing that this Iron Moth does that like just bringing Lando and Ursh wouldn't do better, right? Yeah. So it's like, if we want to find a way to feature the Iron Moth, we have to like find situations in which it can come out and pin things. So now that we have these two, right, we have like our little Dive Buddy comp. I think the one thing that we actually want here is going to be Tailwind, right? I think it's really, really going to be important to get Tailwind up here. So you have a few different Tailwind setters, and I really think that your best Tailwind setter on this team would probably actually be a Whimsicott, right? I think Whimsicott's going to be a little more value. So you have your sort of like fantasy core here with like your fire poison, your dragon, your fairy. You know, I think that all these go together very well. If you were to take a look at some other events that have also been happening, let's see if I can get my internet to load right here. There's so many ads on Victory Road sometimes, I swear. Does that happen to anybody else?
I use things I probably shouldn't to stop those ads from happening.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I just, you know, of course. So you can see like on this team, like this Whimsicott team like won this tournament recently. This is the most recent VR tour. And like, that's because it just outvalues any other manual speed tier setter. And then all of the other like prankster speed setters like Torn and stuff like that, Whimsicott technically is faster. So you don't have to go into that game of, are they going to taunt me? You know, do I have to deal with this? You can just say, hey, Tailwind's up, deal with it, you know? And so what I really like about these sort of cores is like, they have to be bringing fake out to this because they have to fake out one of these guys. So that leans really, really heavy into your whole crown thing, right? So now you have these guys, right? And so you have like all of this like little extra, you know, energy to be able to like steal each game. So like, this is really cool. If they're going to ever go Fairy Terror, they get pinned here, they get pinned here. If they don't go Fairy Terror, they just get rolled by this. And if they're steal, well, you have things like a Heat Wave here, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I
saw a lot of people use, I looked back at old Regulation F to see what people were using Iron Moth for, and most people were using Fiery Dance, and I wasn't sure why they would use that over Heat Wave.
Last Reg F, we honestly had a lot. Oh, I'm sorry?
Maybe for any Auricular shenanigans?
I think that it's because Wide Guard was actually bigger last Reg F, in my opinion. Like, Wide Guard was just more prevalent. And so, like, if you're building a set that's like this, you know, you want, like, one way to still hit things. But, like, it's just more setup potential, I think. Like, Reg F last time ended up being... After you got past, like, the Torn Earth shenanigans, it ended up going, like, heavy into that Bolt balance. So, like, if you had to more protect the Moth core, Fiery Dance would work. But I always like Heat Wave. Like, I don't see why you wouldn't Heat Wave.
Yeah.
So now that we have like this core, we can even low key go into like a weird like Sunny Day variant here to where we have like enable here. Like we might even be able to go like Sunny Day, like Terra Blast, something weird over here, like a Terra Blast Fire or something if we want to hit something weird. You know, like there's value to be had in that. But I'm wondering like what we want this last Pokemon to really be here. And this is a hard one. You could put a fake out user here if you want fake out. You could put like a balance piece like a Raging Bolt here. I think a lot of people would probably look at this and think you might want Bolt. I think some people might look at this and think you might want like an Urshi Dark. I think Urshi Dark does go onto that very well. But I think that there's also like a bunch of like other options. I think like a secondary speed control mon could have like a lot of value to where like you're forcing your opponents into respecting like more unique situations. So like for example, like just like a Grim would be like, oh, I don't like that, you know what I mean? And so it's like it's very similar. So now you can go like Grim Whims, Close Moth, or other weird stuff like that. You might even be able to go something like a Thundy, right?
Yeah, I was thinking Thunderous.
Right, so Thunder, like this just kind of changes and gives you outs for your two ground weaknesses. So you could even, if you wanted to make that Landorus work here, you definitely could. So one thing you could do here, one thing I like about Landorus in this sort of team is this Landorus, you have the Intimidate here and you can run like a Screens Whim, right? So you have like a pseudo way to mitigate damage, and then like maybe if you made like a more setup-y crown with like a Life Orb, do you see like how that can sort of set up into something that's kind of ridiculous?
My
like,
only issue though is that in this team, it's harder to click Earthquake on land.
Oh, you don't have Earthquake. You just have Stomping, right? So it's like, okay, it's just Stomping. It's Stomping, U-turn. You'd probably have Terra Blast Flying to deal with Ursh, right? And then like you could have Rock Slide. Yep. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, it sucks that you don't have access to Earthquake, but like you honestly just don't need it. Like this thing is only here to do a little bit of AoE in the late game to like rock pawns and just come in here and just U-turn, stomping, U-turn, stomping, U-turn, stomping, stuff like that.
I really like the idea of Landorus Therian because a lot of the Raging Bolt is starting to do Assault Vest a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
I think
getting
it's good.
the physical.
Yeah, I think that like. I like Landorus Therian. I think it's very, very viable in this format. This is probably one of Landorus's better formats recently. If you wanted to, you could even, if you wanted to be like that guy, you could go special Landorus Therian. There's nothing stopping you from doing that and still just Scarf it, right? With like Earth Power, you'd be able to have conjunctions with like your Acid Spray and stuff like that. I don't think you need to do that, but it's an option, right? And the way that I'd be playing this team is like trying my best to find the way to leverage advantage with these two, and then just like closing with like the Land or the Crown, right? So I think if we were to try to like flesh out the rest of this team, I don't know exactly what move we want here. We might want Protect, but it's hard to say. I think Regidrago would have something like Dragon Energy. So you'd have Dragon Energy, Draco Meteor. Usually they go like Earth Power here for this third move. They have Protect, obviously. So Protect on Regidrago, and then we have Draco Meteor and Dragon Energy. All right, and then the Whims. I think we want the Light Screen. I think like Tailwind, Light Screen, Moonblast. We don't know what we want this last move to be, but this is probably going to end up being like a Sash Whims because why not? Right? You could go Encore. You could go with a bunch of other things, but you don't need to, you know? Endeavor almost works. Fake Tears.
I just got smoked by an Endeavor Sash Whimsicott earlier today. It was really cool.
It's viable. I think also as well, there's some situations where Helping Hand's really good here. Were you going to say something?
I was gonna think like, is just Taunt work, but then the Indeedee blocks.
Taunt is actually one of my favorite techs for Whims recently, even on Indeedee teams like this, because like if we take a look at that tournament, you could just taunt their Torn, you know, and be like, you can't Rain Dance. So that's one of the cool things. You can't Rain Dance and you can't Tailwind, right? You just say, no, it's not happening, right? And since you're Sash, next turn, when they want to just, they're like, fine, I'll Bleak Wind, then you Tailwind and you're fine, right? So it's like, I think it's worth testing that. Obviously, it has very negative synergy with your Indeedee, but like a lot of people, if they're afraid of the Encore, they will let you go. They'll like try and bait out the Encore and then pivot and then carry your Whims. And you just say like, no, like you're not doing your thing, you know? And this is also a really good opener. Like, let's say you open up like Whimsicott into something like Porygon 2 Amoonguss. You can just taunt the P2 through the redirection and be like, nope, no TR, it's not happening, you know? So I think it's worth testing, but we can always move it around. So I think with this guy, you want Protect, you want Calm Mind on this thing. I think Calm Mind's really good here. And then you have Tachyon Cutter, and you have access to Expanding Force.
I would say for Taunt,
I'm
people
sorry?
do forget that with
Yeah.
high terrain, if you're flying, you can still pop
Oh, yeah,
with
you can still taunt the Torns, yeah. All right, for this guy, I know we're going to want Trick Room. Right, just because like in case we need to flip it back, and sometimes just good to like Trick Room. Like let's say you lead like really aggressive, like Indeedee Crown, you let them take them out, you Trick Room and bring out Drago, like that's value, right? So that's good. We know we want Follow Me, and then go for it.
Just a quick. Are you going to be sending me this?
I will.
After, or
I will
should
be
do
sending
it?
all of them.
Okay.
You don't have to write it down. I'm going to post it.
All right.
Yeah, I thought I heard someone typing, but I was like, it's fine. Yeah, so I think these two are good. And then like I like on these cores Helping Hand here. I think some people like Protect. I think some people like a couple other options. I'm just a fan of Helping Hand. And then I actually like Psychic on this team over Dazzle. Yeah, I think the Dazzle is like good into stuff like POW, right? It's good into POW, but like this just like one-shots Urshi Water. It does like 70% to Amoonguss. Like that's the problem, you know? So like we just got to break the problem, right? And
Sometimes I wish
realistically,
Indeedee had like 7 moves, because like you'd want in like Imprison and Dazzling Gleam.
oh yeah, I mean there's so many cool things you can do with Indeedee. So, but
Yeah.
I think Psychic is probably fine. Landorus, we already saw we got there. So what's the last move that we really want here? We can do this spray with Drago. I don't hate having like Protect here, but I don't think it's required. The only real value that one cool thing you could do here is Discharge if you wanted to be clean with that Lando.
I was playing with trying to do Terra Electric Discharge with a Thunderous setting up electric terrain, but that's just too much.
Another thing that you could do here is also Agility. It's not terrible, right? And you just like set up like the speed, you know? Say like I'm going first, so like that's an option. I'm trying to think of like other things. He gets access to helping. Like this last move needs to be something to where they're just like, oh, that's weird, you know. So that's why I recommended things like Pounce. You know,
I think you can move the Whimsicott light screen and put the light screen on the Iron Moth.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea actually, because like it makes it so Whimsicott doesn't have to do as much work. And so like that means our Whimsicott actually could have an option to have like a secondary like weird move if we wanted to. So we can Helping Hand here. You could Encore here if you want. I don't think you need all that stuff. I think that I would probably... I've seen people start to use Charm on Whimsicott actually. I think that's kind of a unique take. Misty Terrain could almost be good in some bad matchups. You know, I think what I would do probably here, you could put Protect on Whims, and there's nothing wrong with that. That way you can just double Protect to block Fake Out, and then just go Tailwind Pop against like Rilla and Sin, you know? I think that's an option. That would be a cool option. I think also you could just put like an Energy Ball or like a Giga Drain. Those are just solid in a lot of matchups. But like, what do you think about just putting Protect on it?
I'd probably be more comfortable with just Protect.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
But...
And so the one of the cool things about that's going to change our team a little bit, right? If we do want to run Protect, we do run Encore here because this lets us fish for things to catch, you know?
Yeah.
And then we would have the Tailwind, right? So this is a solid. This is the oldest school Whim set you're ever going to see, right? But I like having the light screen here. And now if this is going to be our set, we change this to Ghost, right? Because we want this to actually... So anytime you have something where you want to use at least two different things, that's when you need that more defensive item or Terra, right?
Yeah.
So
I could not get... like this is for me mostly to keep in mind is that I could not EV it with enough defense to not get one shot by a Urshifu Water.
Oh yeah,
unless I Terra to Grass. So
yeah, but the good thing is you're faster. So it's like you just like you just do what you want to it, right? If Urshifu wants to really target this guy down, like that's what this is for, right? This thing's probably gonna have a Water Terra for redirection just for Urshi Water, right? So I think that like Ghost is probably fine here. All right, so now that we have all of our moves, let's start making sure our abilities are right. Okay, and then after that, let's go into EVs, right? So I always want to get my speeds done first. I'm actually a big fan of max speed on this guy. Like max speed, it lets you have, you know, just a little bit of special attack in some situations. You get a little bit more. So I like the max speed on this guy because it allows you to outspeed things like Ninetales, right? And Ninetales is definitely a thing that we want to hit, right? So I would probably just do something, you know, like that. You want to max out your HP and get as much special attack as you can possibly get while still retaining the booster energy into that stat. Does that make sense?
Sorry. Well, how did you get the 132?
Yeah. Like, so the way it works is we want to get a booster into our speed stat, right? And so since
I didn't.
And so you drop your special attack all the way up to 1 below, and then from there you just want to dump your rest of your points in HP, but you want to cut that last 8 up into 2 sets of 4, right?
Yeah. I got that. I just forgot that we had booster. I was like, how did you pick 132?
Yeah, it makes sense. All right, cool. Yeah. So we're gonna look at Drago next. So like Drago's one of those like really weird Pokemon because it has 80 base speed, which means it's technically usable. If you want to go fast Drago, you definitely can, but I don't think you need to, right? I think with Drago, you only really need to be right here. That's the slowest your Drago can ever be, right? Because this would double in a Tailwind into outspeeding like a Sash, like a bundle that has done stuff, right? An unboosted bundle, right? So that being said, I feel more comfortable with my Dragos up here, right? But that being said, I think you can probably get away with like right about here speed. We don't really have any +1, -1 calcs, but this will be like guaranteeing you outspeed their Rillabooms, you outspeed their Raging Bolts. Like they shouldn't be faster than this, right? And then from there, you just max up the special attack stat. And then you never want to put your leftover points in like HP on this guy since it's so bloated, right? So we want to pick basically where do we want to dump all of these. You could go into a 76-4-4, but you really don't need to. I think you just want to pick one. And since we have redirection, there's not that many physical moves that like are AoE that couldn't stop us on our neutral Terra or our steel. I think you want to go like this. That's how I would do it. Because it's also easier to pair with the Lander to get the defense boost than it is to get the screen boost. But if you do get the screen boost and you have steel Terra, this is going to live for a while. So, you know, you could cut this up into a 76-4-4. I just don't think you need to. It's like so bloated there. It's not really worth it. You're basically just getting one more defense. You might as well just try and live in that situation. And we're going to Dragon Fang this guy probably, but we'll talk about it. I know Justin Tang used a Life Orb on it, and it was really cool, but I don't think we need to do that. So we have Sash here. Honestly, I don't know why the button does that. When you have Sash, it should just know what you want, right?
Yeah.
But like, I don't think there's an issue with like a Whims like this. I don't think there's a problem. I think that if you wanted to go bulkier, you could, but I think you should just Sash this thing. I think this should just be Sashed, at least until we get a really good understanding of what we want to do. If you realize that they're like never, you know, double tapping this thing to break Sash, and you realize you can cut the Sash for something like maybe a Covert Cloak here to where like you can actually pair, so you can start like using your Ghost Terror correctly, and maybe you put like, or maybe like a Mental Herb, or, you know, a King's Rock Fling. Like, if you realize you don't need your stash, we can cut it, but this is the standard way to play it, right? And then the Iron Crown. Now, we don't really have a way to get like a booster, but that being said, we don't need this guy to do that much. This set right here just outspeeds Adam and Ursh by 1, so just do it, right? I want to outspeed Adam and Ursh, right? And just I don't really.
You cloak the Moth and then put the energy on the crown.
You could, but that's the thing. That's the thing. They're expecting that to be like that.
Oh, they're expecting it.
Well, I would say so, right? So if you're going to be playing this on like closed sheet and leaning into starting to play open sheet, you still want to have that situation where you're forcing them into like over expecting crown stuff, and then crown is more like a weird calm mindset, right? That's what I would say. I would probably do something like that. But you can make it faster if you want. I just don't think you need to. I'd want to hit as hard as possible and know what I outspeed, right? This is also gonna go for it.
I was gonna say, is there value to, because you're doing a calm mindset, to just doing the first bump and then getting more bulk?
That's definitely valuable. Yeah. So like if I were to be playing this crown and I had like the access to those screens, I'd probably be down here. If it was just my team, like I'd be more comfortable like down here. And then if that was going to be the case, I still would want the heavy HP. I'd probably play it like that. And you see this also ends it with a 9 for the life orb. This is another set that I've used and stuff like that. So I would do stuff like that because it's optimized for life orb as well.
Okay, but you basically have to calm mind, or else you're not.
No, you can still like Oko Flutter because you have life orb boost, right? You don't need to calm mind, but you're gonna get one off every time with this team at some point.
Right.
You're gonna basically, the way to play this when you play it with the entity here is you calm mind until the entity's gone, and then you come out and you get your actual speed control up, and you just say GG's, right?
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so into with this entity here. I think that like we're probably gonna want a safety goggles. I think safety goggles is better here than Rocky Helmet, just because like spore, we don't want that, right? So we could go grass if we really wanted to get away with it, but then we're required to Terra in front of Amoongus, and then we also gain a weakness to that sludge bomb, so we don't want that, right? And we got to think, what are we really mitigating here? Because we have Intimidate here, we can actually put a lot of points into like Spadef. I'm not saying that we go max, but we run this calc over here. So if an Urshifu, so we want to see like how much damage we can mitigate from like an Urshi water. Urshifu Rapid Strike. So Rapid Strike here into like an entity. All right, so set those to 50. Give it like a 252 surging.
I don't know if it matters. I think you're on the male entity.
You're right, it does. Thank you. Ta-da! Here we go. I was wondering when I was going to make a mistake. So, like, we're right there. We get to live that, just, like, stand up, straight up, easy peasy, but then they usually go adamant. So, like, we want to make sure that we don't die there. So, like, that takes that much just to make sure that we don't die to, like, a Sash variant, right? Now, if they want to go, like, double dip water or be, like, Mystic Water, right? They definitely can, and we could play around it. It would take that many points, which I think if you want to do that, that's fine, because like if you basically just say Ursh we don't even need Terra to not die, which is kind of nice, right? So it's like 164, so 164, and then we have all these extra points. And the entity still has a much higher base Spadef than like base defense, so like we're still fine there. I usually tend to make these 0 speed reduced, just because I like the ability to like not have to deal with Rillaboom and stuff like that. You just always at least can speed tie them, right? So that's probably where I would go. So just leave that at that. And the Lando. So Lando's actually a pretty cool EV spread. You can almost just click the button, but you 236, 12, 4. When you double dip flying here, this will always live the surging strikes from their Ursh if you go into your flying Terra. So you're always going to live, even if they have something, but you're also faster than, like, everything else. So very, very solid set. You don't need to be, like, that much different on Lando. Very, very easy. So setting all the rest of these Terras here. I wonder what Terra is right. I've seen people go Fairy on this thing, and I think that that's really cool, right? I think it's a really unique way to play this thing that is weird. I've also seen people go, like, Grass. I've seen people go Fire. Right? Is there anything that you think would be good? I've also seen people just double dip the Psychic and say, like, we're dealing damage here.
Right. I was doing the Terra Water Terra Blast before, so I haven't put very much thought into it. I think that you're probably, because you're weak to ground.
Mm-hmm.
So the grass would be the immediate defensive terra that I would have thought.
Yeah. Grass and bugs.
I actually don't like either grass or fairy because I think the fun part of being able to sludge wave, you lose that part.
I agree. Yeah. So I think that like, we're not going to double dip steel here, but like maybe a stellar terra might be the right terra.
Oh, that's cool.
Right? That way you still keep your steel and you can still get a boost. So let's just try it. Again, that's the thing. We're just trying it. You make this guy ghost because you can. This guy goes steel. We're going to dragons fang it. And then this guy goes ghost. So let's just see what happens here. I don't know where this account's rated. I think this account might be in like the 14s, 13s. Hard to say. Let's just see what we get out of this one. And just do like a test game.
We're doing with the build, but I was also wondering if a different setup, like instead of Iron Crown, but Golden Go, and then another.
Yeah, that definitely could work. So going against this game, right, we want to start like initially, the first thing we want to recognize is their levels of speed control. Here, Torn, right? Flutter, Icy Wind, right? Electro Web, potential on the Bolt, right? So their fastest option here is Torn and Flutter. And so we need something that can like deal with that board without like losing to anything else. So if we wanted to go Crown here, we could open up Crown Entity. The only thing that would pin us is that Lando like Sandseer. And if they want to do that, like that's fine. I don't think that's like the end of the world for us. I think that you should definitely open up Whimsicott into this because you can probably just trade Tailwinds with the Torn and then Encore it. So like I don't mind opening up Whimsicott and probably, I think I would open up Whimsicott and Crown and try and steal a Calm Mind here. That's probably what I would do. And then go into like, I don't know if Drago's good here because they have the Dango, right? And potentially 2 Fairy Terras. I'd probably go with like Indity for a little bit of enabling our Crown. And then maybe just the Iron Moth to close out. I don't know if I like Lando here. But it's just hard to say, right? So there's Lando in the first slot. I think that's another big tell, is when they open up something like this in the first slot, that means that it's like going to be really, really important. They know that they wanted to do something, so we have to like play around it correctly. So that being said, we can probably just go like Tailwind Tachyon Cutter and just trade out here, but then we have like very limited ways against this Lando. So what I would actually do here, I know it looks weird, is I would just Moonblast this Lando and just protect. And get ready then to Tailwind Tachyon on the Lando and just get the Lando off the board. Taunt. That's crazy. Turn 1 taunt. It's fine though. Like that's a lot of damage. The special attack dropped. Like we're not losing the game right now. That's all we need right now. All we need to do is not lose this game. So we can go for like another Moonblast into that slot. And then I think that we can probably like, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually outsped, but they're going to Icy Wind here. So I'm just going to pivot in the Entity. Oh, no Icy Wind. Absolutely fine. We don't really care. We're just soaking damage, getting ready to go for Expanding Force. Chunking good damage with a critical hit. So like you see how this is a really good example of like, obviously we're not doing great here, but like we leveraged advantage. Like that's the power of like dictating play. We were rewarded with that RNG. We didn't deserve it, but we're rewarded with it. Now they haven't actually terastallized or done anything. I don't know if they know they need to terastallize this thing. I don't know if it's sashed. But like we just go for this Moonblast, like probably the Moonblast. And I'm thinking I don't want to waste my Terra, so I'm just going to Helping Hand into it instead of like, oh wow, Steel, crazy. Good defensive Terra on that thing. Rain Dance is fine. See, it's good that we didn't want to waste our Terra there because we don't really need to. We just lose the Entity, chunk good damage into that thing. Oof. Big damage, another crit. Alright, so now we have our Tailwind up. We know that some of these mons outspeed. I think that we could probably get away with Crown. I think Expanding Force KO's there. I do think that it does.
Could you encore the Rain Dance here? Or would you just go?
I could encore the Rain Dance, but they, like, I think that's an option. I think that's probably what I will do. But I'm thinking if I outspeed there, because I don't know if like Heat Wave gets that. I'm gonna go with the Crown and get ready to like close with this, because this is good into Flutter too. So I'm gonna encore here, and then just go straight into the Stellar expanding. Value. Nice. And they are outspeeding. So they are Scarfed Ursh, but look at that bulk.
Nice.
Value. GG's. And now we just set up a Tailwind and we win. Cool.
Should you copy the paste to Caro and then would you be comfortable sharing your screen and do a ladder match? I think that would be very beneficial.
Yeah, good idea. It's cool. So we take that one. Awesome. All right.
And you are recording this possibly to upload later?
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know if that matters to Caro if he has
I'm
show.
All right, so Basket Legion has been like slightly rising in usage, like just slightly, right? So I think like with this sort of core, it'd be hard to make the
the Moth.
Well, it'd be hard to make
hard.
Moth work, but it's also be hard to make Lando work here because they have like so many things that are flying, right? I think if you can break the Pelipper and pin the Pelipper correctly, you are going to have like a decent way to win this game. One cool thing about this team is like Reggie Drago's actually good here, right? So I think that you could probably get away with Indeedee and Reggie Drago as a lead. You'd go Indeedee, Drago, Wims, Crown. And the reason is you want to do this until they break the Indeedee, and then you get to reap him with the Wims, set up that Tailwind to stagger, and then close with Crown, right? So right here, you see how that's all single targets? So you just get to go follow me. I actually think you could probably get away with like a Water Terra here too, just so you're not losing your Indeedee as early. You get to basically keep your Indeedee for an extra turn.
Does Weavile get fake out?
Yeah, he can't get fake outed. He does get fake out.
You're free to.
Oh right, I'm sorry. Sorry.
What was someone saying?
I got you.
You can very freely click Trick Room.
Yeah, so I would terrestrialize your Indeedee in this situation.
Okay.
So you don't get like crit by a knockoff and then Drago gets hit. So like I would just go follow me here.
Yeah.
So you click the follow me and then you just click the dragon energy. Okay. So worst case scenario, you have to eat a Bleak Wind, but like they're not. Yeah, so they're playing around Scarf. So Ice Spinner's absolutely acceptable. Someone's getting popped here. Sash, dumpied, easy. Break the wrist, walk away, right? And so Lando's going to come out here. So I think in this situation, there's two things that you could do. I think that you could like protect your Drago and try and pivot in your Wims. I don't necessarily agree with that. I would just protect Drago and Psychic the Landorus because we actually want to get a situation where Wims gets in for free.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that also puts the Landorus within range for a Dragon Energy, makes it so if Lando's going for like sub, he's going to get punished. And so you see how we didn't have to just open ourselves up to that? Perfect. There's a Spidef drop. And so in this situation, we have like all the right mons to close this out. This is the turn that I would probably pivot in the Wims, because now if you repin with the Indeedee, you get your train back up, which allows us to... Actually, let me think about that. You can probably follow... I would follow me here and hard pivot out Drago for Wims. Because there should not be a way that like loses. Because he can't poison either. So you follow me away the Weavile, right? You get your Sash clocked here. Or not, right? It doesn't really matter what they do. And now you can just go into Reggie Drago. The only thing that loses you the game here is like Ice Shard Weavile, which they haven't shown, and they could have done that last turn. So you just want to go Tailwind Dragon Energy.
Yeah.
He has it? Let's see what happens. That's my fault. I set you up for this.
At least we could.
I think we still win. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like we still. So that Dragon Energy is still like a 60 base with a Dragon Fang. So and he had a special D drop. So you actually were still fine. But now you can just rip like a Draco Meteor. Oh, I mean, actually, has he terra'd yet? No, right? That's a booster.
I don't think he has. Yeah.
So you can do two things here. You can double protect to scout if he does go Terra. I don't think that's terrible, right? Okay. If he Calm Minds, he Calm Minds. You know what I mean? I just don't think that booster bolts usually carry that. So I would just double protect. Or even, you could even
Earth Power is like the safe play.
But you don't want to lose the Drago if they don't have like a defensive Terra. So I would protect with the Drago and maybe Calm Mind. Just go for the Calm Mind. Okay. There's the Terra. Awesome. So you're going to have to be Earth Powering anyways, but like you just don't give it to him. Discharge. Wow. Cool. So now you can just go Earth Power and Tachyon Cutter. Yeah, that landed because we got the special attack drop, like we were fine, you know? Or sorry, special D drop.
Yeah.
But hey.
There's so many things to think about, I swear.
I know, right? Crazy.
Way more complicated than chess. It's crazy.
It's different. Yeah, it's a different game, right?
Yeah.
It's chess with speed tiers.
Yeah. I probably should on my other monitor, so I really thank you for this. This is great. I'll keep playing this, and I'll let other people have a chance.
Cool. All right, let me get back.
This was awesome. Thank you so much.
And I'm also open to the ideas, guys. If you guys have like replays to look at, maybe like one of these weeks we can just do like only replays, where we like analyze the replays, break it down turn by turn, and stuff like that. Because I know there are some people that want to break down like the actual ins and outs of the gameplay itself. So if you guys want to do replays and stuff like that, let me know. I think that like Gastron is like a really, really good addition to this team. You know, we were talking about this earlier, right? You can see my screen?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
I want to optimize some of the EVs on this team real quick. I think the T-Tar, playing to bump is good. But I think you want a little bit more speed on the T-Tar because you want your T-Tar in a Tailwind to outspeed other Torns, right? So you want to get that to outspeed. So you actually, want to cut some of these stats here. You want to get your T-Tar up to 91 to outspeed things that outspeed Torn by 1, right? So that's a good spot for your T-Tar to be. And then from there, you know, you can just throw the rest of your points up here. I think this is like a fine T-Tar set. There's nothing spectacular either which way. I also think you can cut low kick on regulation F, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of other like weird moves that T-Tar does get that you could technically use there.
Like Ice Punch?
Ice Punch is usable in the Lando, but only on a read, and you actually don't Oko it if it's like Lando Therian. I actually like Dragon Tail here. And Dragon Tail here is good for a couple options. It just stops TR if that's the thing that's happening. But like against like other setup teams, like it just stops them from cycling, right? So you never use low kick. It only would be usable against like King Gambit, and it's like I don't care about King Gambit, right? In Reg H it was fine, but there's other options too. You know, high horsepower.
I was playing with the idea of just like Surf to feed the Gastrodon, but that was a different team.
Surf almost works there though. It does. Snarl is somewhat usable in that situation, right? So there are a lot of good options. You could even build this T-Tar special if you wanted to, and go things like Ancient Power, Snarl, Dark Pulse. Like those are solid options, I think. So yeah, those definitely work. The big issue with T-Tar is like he's just really pinned by Incin intimidating it, and then like Rilla pins it really hard. The problem with this team is it doesn't have like good Rilla checks. So we're going to be making a couple like changes to help us deal with like Rillaboom, right? So this guy has Sludge Bomb. That's good. Double Dip Poison's really good on this. I like the Sheer Force. I like everything about it. I like the full speed Lando. I think like, I don't know what this is for, but like you probably don't need those defense points there. In my opinion, you probably could just go like that, you know, and it's fine. If it helps you live something very specific, like a POW sucker, we might be able to find ways to make things work. But then at the same time, like, I think you actually just want something like that. I would just go like this. I don't see a reason why, like, if you're double dipping, like, your offensive Terras and stuff like that, you might as well just hit shit, right? Cloak Torn. Again, I don't know what these 12s here are for. Like, you only go into this...
minor ones I did not do. I just ripped off of Munch stats.
Okay. Yeah, the thing is, like, so because we don't know what those are for, even if they're right, and since we don't know what they're for, it's useless, right? Because we can't find the situations. I also think in this sort of team, anytime you have a Torn, right, that guarantee wants to click 2 buttons, the Rain Dance and the Tailwind, you need to have like a item that lets you do that, which would be like a sash, right? So like that's how this would work. I generally think though we don't want Rain Dance on this thing. I think Icy Wind is better. We even saw Justin Tang use like Icy Wind back on Torn. This is the OG Torn set where you just don't get the speed drop off here, you get the speed drop off here, and you enable the rest of your teammates to just function correctly, right?
Okay.
So like, you know, we were just fighting that against that Hail team. Imagine if you could just Icy Wind the Ninetales and then Sludge Bomb it on turn 1. You know, easy peasy, right? Yeah. And then we're going over to here to the Gastro. I think Gastro's fine. Weather Ball is cool tech, but like you could just run like Ancient Power. You know what I mean? I know you have it with Rain, but like you don't need it. The Weather Ball's too deep. It's way too deep. I think Icy Wind is right. I think that was a good call here, giving you additional forms of speed control. What I would do here, I don't think Yawn is right because you don't have enough defensive pivots. I would go Recover here, just to create like a pseudo like late game situation where like you're eventually gonna proc for like stat drops on this and just try and win out. That's what I would do, right? And then Poison's usually okay, but Fire's going to be a little bit better in a lot of situations because this lets you block like Flutter Mane, right? Obviously Poison still did too, right? That's what you had, right?
Yeah.
But this also lets you block like Chi-Yu Flutter. So the things that go with the Flutter get blocked by the Fire Terra, right? And because we have Storm Drain, like, you know, we don't want to get a weakness to Psy Spam since we enable Psy Spam, right? So Fairy Terra, see, I like the Fairy Terra here. You don't need the Terra Blast. I think in this sort of situation, you might want to find... So this is a really cool one. I really like this. This is where I think something like a Ground Terra could be really cool on the Terra Blast ground to be able to pin things. But at the same time, it might be cool to like build a crown that has like a little bit better matchup into like Rilla, right? So I'm trying to think of like what other Terras. Like, I think that would actually be really cool. And like, I think that that's really rad, you know? Because we're also full speed. Like, I love that. I really like what that's putting down, right? So I would try it, right? Because, like, if they're afraid of fire, just pivoting the Gastro. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's really cool. And then you have Trick Room. You have Rocky Helmet here. An issue with this team is Amoongus. So you're going to want either the Rocky Helmet or a Grass Terra. And I think with this one, you can get away with the Grass Terra instead. Just because like it would be nice to have this to stop Ursh, since like this gives you multiple ways to deal with Urshy Water, which again would be a problem for half of your team, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's good. I don't know if flying is even right on this T-Tar, because I think you actually would want...
I've been using Terra flying Blast against Urshifus and Rillas. It chunks them super hard.
You're right. No, you're right. I like this because like it lets you block the fake outs if you don't have Entity, and it's good into Flutter. But you're right. Terra Blast flying in Rilla is like, we can't not have that because this team needs Rilla checks, right? That's the whole thing. Like it just needs Rilla checks. And then I don't know if I like the Steel here, because like Steel on Sash Torn, I'm not a fan of. I would probably just go Ghost. Awesome. So, and then as far as the changes, you never really need this much like defense, but since we are playing it with a Rocky Helmet, that's fine. I would just make sure to take out your speed here to make this guy like as slow as possible, so you don't have to automatically, so you can lead correctly into Rilla. Boom.
Right. Okay.
Right. So I would try those out. Did you want to try the game, or do you want me to do it?
Why don't you play one, then
Cool.
I can play.
Cool. Sounds good. This guy's speed control is very limited, right? So it's limited to basically only like Icy Wind, POW, and Electrobe. So we don't actually need to be like crazy fast. Like Booster Crown kind of just gets us what we want. I think we could probably actually get away with like Crown Indity, and then you immediately pivot out Indity for like anything. Probably like there's value in T-Tar. I think that T-Tar is probably what I would want. And then like maybe like a repin. I don't know if Lando's right here, because like the Rillaboom, the POW, we're not really gonna have the Terra to be throwing the Lando all around. So I don't hate Gastro. I think I'll try the Gastro here, because I don't think we need Torn.
And they also have a fair bit of access to priority. So
Yeah.
It makes me really like Entity.
So yeah, the thing about Entity here is we never actually want to leave it on the board. So no matter what, I don't really care what you're leading with. And this is why we have the 0 speed Entity. So even if they did lead Rilla, we would still under speed, right? So the cool thing about this lead for us is we're just going to pivot this thing out. Do not care. We're going to ignore the Cleft. If they want to go protect Sing, that's a really low % chance, right? They can have that. Like, we don't care. We're just going to pivot in T-Tar and get ready to like break Sashes even if they do play Protect. Grass Terra is absolutely fine. You can click follow me. Like, I don't care if you want to hit the crown. It's really no big deal. You're probably going to be going into the slot, though. Yep, there it is, right? Because that's a tell that they have a Rillaboom in the back, right? And now we have a board state situation where we can just protect. We can Terra Blast flying the Clef. There's a couple things that can happen here. If they were to go for pivot out Clef in for Rilla, like they would just lose it that turn, right?
Right.
Yeah, there it is. And like it's exactly the setup. So like, and we were able to scout those tells by how aggressive they were with the POW, right? The last turn. Value. And now we have terrain control for the rest of the game. Yep. And so we have the exact boards that we really want here. I think in this situation, there's nothing wrong with ripping the Tachyon Cutter there and just pivoting back in the Entity to get control. Because like we just don't want our T-Tar to die, right? You know what I mean? There's no reason to just let it sit and die. We have a Rocky Helmet here too. And we have something like that. That's game. Rip. GG's. Perfect game. I would say like that's exactly the sort of game you want to play with this team and like leverage that advantage and punish them. Like you scout their speed control, get something that like leverages that advantage and just like never let them really get in on you. So that was a great game for like, you know, I think I know who this is too. Good player. So
So how is it that the Chempao swinging at the Entity slot how is that a tell for Rilla?
So this board right here, right? So in some situations, so they should almost always be hitting the crown, in my opinion, because two things can happen, right? It's either I'm going to be clicking follow me, I'm going to be terastallizing one of them, or I'm protecting and doing what? Like dazzle? Like I don't care. You don't care if I dazzle. You have a friend guard. You can always pivot and Rilla and get that sash back, right? So you always want to hit the crown, just like how I never hit the Clef with the crown. I always hit the POW because I don't care if their support Pokemon does anything, right?
Right.
But he didn't hit that one. Also, I didn't die. Like, we're not going to die. And usually POWs don't have that, like, Throat Chopper Crunch. Usually have Sucker as their only dark move. So it's a good tell. It's a good practice to go into that T-Tar, I think. You're usually I would say you probably have, like, a 70% chance to get away with that play. But if they tunnel in the Entity, that means they have Rillaboom. They're trying to get that off the board so they can actually have their control. if they weren't clouded by the fact that they're trying to get rid of terrain, like they're tunneling, right? If they weren't clouded by that judgment, they would have just hit the crown probably, right?
Yeah.
So that's my thought. Like they probably should have just went Terra here, follow me, hit crown, force my follow me. See, no matter what they do, if they hit the crown, that forces me to use a resource. They didn't do that, and so the game got like out of control, right? But even if they did, you know, who knows how the game would have went? Who even knows if we would have died, right? Because we could have Trastalized into something as well. But yeah, the Rillaboom tell was pretty obvious there. And that, like, what were they going to do? They weren't going to. They also weren't going to like protect Clef and pivot out Pow for Rilla. You know, that's too low tempo. Then you're at the risk of getting just expanding. You know, if like I had terrain control back since I swapped my entity. You know, so you know it was a great game overall for us, but. You know, I think those sort of plays like work. If you can open up and just say like, you don't have anything, AoE I win, like, okay, you know that works. And the thing is, you don't need to play like 100 games of that to know how to do that whenever you need it. So like whenever a meta would be solved by that, you can now go into your bag of tricks and say, oh, this solves that meta and use that. But since like we're trying to evolve and like learn more about the game, that's a very low skill ceiling, right? You're beating people who don't have good teams. You're beating people that don't know what they're doing. And so like, while that can solve some metas, you don't need to just only use that thing out of like fear of losing, right? That's where like this team has a much higher % chance of like, you know, that last game that we did, like we were able to like kind of wrap them around our finger, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts. Did you want to play a game with it, or did you want me to take a look at the next team?
Let's go to the next team.
Okay, cool. I'll take a look at this one. I have a video coming out on my side channel relatively soon. Going to be talking about like why I think Murkrow is one of like the most broken Pokemon in this format. And I don't know why no one's using it, because it does all the things that Torn does without being susceptible from like Prankster. It has like flying typing. It has like good dark typing, good solid stuff. It's a dozo check, has like access to even more speed control from like Quash. So I think this is like a really good team. I know you're in here, the guy that I'm working on this with. What was the questions you had about this team?
I guess it's just more like a team preview. Like tend to do a lot of hyper offense. So like I tend to think Murkrow Dango works into everything, even though
okay,
they bring Incineroar and a fire type, and I'm like checked.
Okay,
but that's my mindset. Just you know that even with open team sheet, I'm just like,
So we're playing this open sheet, so we'll check this and we'll kind of go over it. All right. Oh my gosh, is this very standard like crown spam? So like this is Justin Tang's version with that. Well, he doesn't have the icy one here, but like the life orb, right? So I think that like Psy spam can be a rough matchup, but there's no water pond here, and I'm sure when you're playing your games, you're realizing a situation where like if they don't have water pond, you can kind of just run them over, right? So I think that Urshifu is good here, but I also think like being able to trick room a team like this is like just a free win. Right, so if we can go with something like this and just get away with that, that's probably going to be value. We have to think like, what could they do? Like Scarf Ursh, they don't have Taunt here. They can Trick Room back. So what we need to do is like have something that says they can't Trick Room back. So like these two should be able to say, don't mess me up, you know, like leave me alone, right? So I think those two are probably fine. I'm going to go Heatran, and then I don't know if Dango is really the play here for the late game, but I think that like Sinistcha has value. I think I might try the Dango for this first game. And then game 2, we're going to flip over into a faster mode with Murkrow. When they realize that they need to go AoE and just run us over, we're going to hit them with like probably Ursh Murkrow and just run them over. And that's going to, the cool thing about that play is that's going to work regardless of if they play correctly in this first game. So that's Scarf, Ursh, and Torn. Awesome. So the cool thing that I like about this board is like, you can go Tailwind, which you don't need to. So you don't have to Tailwind here. So you're probably just going to click like Bleak Wind here. But like I'm just going to click Flying Terra. I'm just going to go for the TR. We're doing this just so we don't die, right? Because you don't have Taunt. So we're just going to get the TR up. And I think you can just go right into probably Dango here. Heatran or Dango, we don't want to get caught by a close combat. But they're probably not clicking. Like I would think that they're just going to click Bleak Wind here, right? And if they wanted to go Rain Dance and Water Terra, double dip, go everything into the Porygon, that's fine. It doesn't do like as much, right? So like we can recover versus that. I think if we were to double into that thing, we actually get the KO. So I think like flying, and I think both those get the KO. Like what are they pivoting into? Maybe an Indeedee? Like I doubt, right?
Maybe
he
fire
did
upon
blink one.
think. No, they gotta think we're not gonna. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, I think they're just gonna lose this thing. The best thing they have is to pivot in
Yeah.
Indy there, but then that board state's like really weak, right? So we should get the double KO. We probably could have got it with Make It Rain as well. But do you see how they Rain Dance there instead of Bleak Winding because they want to get their hits? And now we can just probably get away with like Make It Rain Ice Beam just to get that thing off the board. If they want to come in with something slower, that's fine. We don't necessarily care about this. Special attack
I
boost.
wonder, do they protect the Torn?
They definitely could. I think that like Recover and Shadow Ball are probably what I like here the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it reads that Protect. But, you know, we could just double into this guy and make sure we guarantee get that KO, right? But they could protect there too.
For
Yeah,
sure.
that's the thing is like I think that
They could.
like they're not protecting with the Torn. They're going for a Bleak Wind. That's fine. That's why we go for the heal. The heal is really obnoxious. Speed drop means we're guaranteed to be slower than everything. And now that that protect's on cooldown, your Terra's on cooldown.
Nice.
I think that like we're actually fine to just run both those into this thing. And like what could they pivot? It'd be Indity probably. So it's like both these are good. I'm gonna go with the flying just because I want a little bit more damage if they do pivot in Indity. And if they pivot in Indity, that's just a really weak board from them. You know, the Indity's going to take too much damage from this. We still have the turn to go for something else. Like, yeah, big damage there. Awesome. Like, it would have been nice to clock the Sash or freeze, but, like, we don't need to do that, right? Speed drops are here. There's the Ogre Pawn. So this is the last turn Tailwind. So they're probably going to... Like, I think you just recover and Make It Rain here. Right? Because you can get the KO through that. It plays...
Hit it with... like a power gem?
No, you just go Make It Rain because like we have the tools to break this guy with either of these guys. We get a recover off because like him Rain Dancing was like a big mistake. There's the spiky shield, and you see how we like perfectly played around it. Like we don't need to take the bait for anything. Break it, and now we can just like re-trick room if we want. Probably still the right play to re-trick room in my opinion, and just go for like a power gem. We can protect. It doesn't really matter because either of these wins the game. You never want to get in those situations where like you're protecting here because like what if like we protected and like something bad happened to our Porygon or something, you know, like just get up your speed control because like Porygon actually still checks it, you know. We don't need to show that we have our Heatran either. Like we started off with the Ursh, and so like it's the, you know, just showing what we have. Doesn't really matter. GG's. Cool. Game 2. So game 2 is going to be played completely differently because they showed that their offense doesn't work. So they're going to go more into like a side spam and be like, fine, you want to play that way? I'm just going to get Calm Minds up and we're just going to roll them in half, right? So we're just going to go Ursh, Murkrow, Dango, and I think that Porygon is still very viable here. So I'm going to try the Porygon. And if we want to, and then for game 3, if we lose this one, we can go with the same like aggressive play, or we can go back to that like really defensive play that we did on the, we can go Trick Room again, you know? But we're basically putting them into a situation where we're like amping up the aggression to like 11 and forcing them into a, I guess like a situation in which they have to start playing incredibly risky, right? So if they're trying to play passive here in a slow game, we're just going to roll them, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's see what they got. I think that we'll probably be fine. Let's see, there it is. So Crown and Indity. So it's exactly what I said.
Oh, I didn't think they would lead like that.
No, I did. That's what I said. I said that they would
Murkrow.
lead that, right? That's what I said. I said that this is going to be forcing that reactive play, right? And so they're trying to like leverage that, and we can just blow these guys up. Remember what we were talking about before? I think it's usually a better idea to go into Crown in some situations, but they have the Water Terror there. So I think we can probably just go for like a U-turn into this guy and probably like, I'm not afraid of that as much as I should be. I'm actually going to target like, I'm going to double target your Indity because I want it off the board, right? In case, I don't want you doing anything weird. Oh, I forgot the Tailwind. I'm bad. I'm so sorry. This is like my,
Oh, you're good.
this
No,
is like my
that-
6-hour Pokemon a day today. I'm so bad. For some
you're
reason,
good.
I thought it was Scarfursh. Completely my fault. Also, I'm surprised
You're
that that
fine.
outspeeds with special attack. That's probably why I thought that I could get away with that. Hey, now we know, right? So they went follow me. They did that. I think we're still fine here though. If we come in and play like a slightly like slower game. All right, so what do we want to do here? We probably still need to get up a Trick Room. And so let's just chunk damage, right? We need to just play a little bit slower. We can outvalue that Crown with Dango. But yeah, really weird to see like that special attack Crown outspeed our Ursh, right?
Oh,
We can haze
I would
that.
have played the mind game thinking they were going to Trick Room for me.
Yeah, no, we're at this point, so that's a good thing. Like we're behind, but like we actually just need to like keep on doing what we're doing, right? at this point, like, we just need to start, like, doing damage. You're going to go for, like, a Tachyon Cutter here, but I'm going to be able to get that Indity, like, off the board before I lose my Murkrow, right? And then I get to come up with my Dango, and then, like, maybe we crit you with a Shadow Ball. Like, I think those are, like, the only outs that we really have, you know? Yep, just get the things off the board. No TR back. Oh, cool. I don't care. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of damage, but, like, it's fine. I can't do anything else about it, right? So here's Fire Pawn. I think we could probably get away with, like, pivot out for Dango. And I'm looking at, like, every possibility here. 3 turns on TR. Pivot out for Dango. I'm wondering if, like, they're going to go, like, hit here. See, because I'm looking at, like, maybe... I want to get a special attack boost, and I think if I were to do something like that, let's see if we can get away with it. We don't need to haze yet. I don't even think that it's worth, like, showing that that's, like, a part of our game plan right now. Yep, see, we're not taking the bait, and we're just trying to, like, we're just sticking damage here. That's a lot, right? So we're making the slow plays that need to be made to win the game, and now when I reap him with this Porygon, I think it's going to be in a better spot. Yeah, still gets the attack block, unfortunately, so, but that's fine, you know. Now we have, like, Power Gem here. We could freeze there. You know, there's so many different situations. They have the Follow Me. I'm trying to think of what we need to do here. This is last turn of the Psychic Terrain as well. I mean, it might be the right play just to do this and crit the Crown. I don't think that that's right. I think what you do is Shadow Ball here, and, like, honestly, I think you just Terra Blast here and hope that they're bad, right? I think that that's the play. Good play. Yep. We got the crit, though. Hey, we taking those. We're taking those. Look at us. Look at us taking them. We're doing everything that we can, right? Last turn Trick Room. We're in a pretty good spot. That was a misplay. We got the crit. Ursh, and it's Scarfed, so that should be game. Cool. They're gonna go with, like, you have Aqua Jet? No, they don't have it. Cool, that's game. So massive misplays, absolutely massive misplays from me, but, like, I think we still win. Dango should get this. Let's go. Cool. Awesome. They threw really bad. Awesome.